A political earthquake is rippling across Westminster today, and the tremors spell the absolute definitive end of Keir Starmer's Labour project. The secret that Starmer's government has been desperately trying to hide, even from its own National Executive Committee, is finally out, and the devastating truth has been revealed by the one man who stands ready to bury the two-party system for good, Nigel Farage. The shocking news is now official. Reform UK has definitively overtaken the Labour Party to become the biggest political party in the UK by membership. This isn't a poll, not a forecast, but a fundamental shift in the very structure of British democracy. And it exposes the single fatal flaw in Starmer's government that will ultimately destroy the Labour Party: the devastating, relentless, and accelerating exodus of their grassroots members. The raw numbers are the stuff of nightmares for Starmer. Reform UK now boasts a staggering 269,000 members and counting, a monumental rise of over 330% since the 2024 general election, when their membership stood at just 61,000. Meanwhile, leaked figures from Labour headquarters reveal that Starmer's fading party has slumped below 250,000 members, losing over 100,000 members since they won the general election last year. Think about that for a moment. More than 100,000 people who once believed in the Labour Party, who paid their membership fees, who volunteered their time, who knocked on doors and delivered leaflets, have looked at what Starmer has done to their party and walked away. This staggering rate of attrition, the equivalent of a member walking out every few minutes, is the ultimate sign of a failed political project. Farage wasted no time seizing the political high ground, declaring, "The secret is finally out." Reform has now overtaken the Labour Party to become the biggest political party in the UK. It also marks the gravestone of Britain's old two-party system. These aren't just words. This is a declaration of war against the entire Westminster establishment, and the battlefield statistics prove Farage is winning. But here is what makes this victory truly devastating for Starmer. Political parties don't win general elections solely through slick media appearances and national polling leads. They win by having thousands of activists on the ground, the forces on the ground, as Farage put it, who knock on doors, deliver leaflets, and run local campaigns. For decades, Labour's vast paid-up membership was its beating heart, its ultimate structural advantage over the perpetually struggling Conservative Party. Now, Starmer has not only lost the intellectual and ideological argument to the populist movement led by Farage, but he has lost the manpower. Farage's declaration that our network of branch activists is flourishing and Reform now has the manpower to take on the political establishment and win is the fatal blow. It means that while Labour might still lead in some national voting intention polls, they are structurally incapable of fighting a sustained seat general election campaign against a party that is now superior in numbers, enthusiasm, and funding. The evidence of this grassroots collapse is everywhere, and it is happening in Labour's former strongholds. Farage is rightly boasting that Reform has the momentum, having already won an earthquake majority of seats in May's English local elections, and crucially following up with major victories in Labour-held areas. The most recent stinging humiliation for Labour came just last night with Reform's victory in a council by-election in West Lothian, Scotland. Let that sink in. West Lothian, this is territory that should be absolutely safe for Labour, a stronghold they've held for generations. Yet Reform came from nowhere to snatch the seat, demonstrating that the party's grassroots operation is now capable of overturning the old two-party map. As Farage triumphantly declared, no Labour or Tory stronghold is safe anymore. Starmer's refusal to even acknowledge these devastating figures speaks volumes. Labour spokespeople are stonewalling, stating they do not give a running commentary on membership throughout the year, which only confirms the panic inside their headquarters. They are desperately trying to manage the public relations fallout of a crisis that is fundamentally structural, and no amount of spin can change the mathematical reality that they are hemorrhaging support. The decline in membership is a direct repudiation of Starmer's leadership and his political direction. Members are reportedly leaving over his deeply unpopular centrist policy shifts, such as the initial continuation of the two-child benefit cap and perceived lack of radical action on the cost of living crisis. These aren't abstract policy disagreements. These are real people who joined Labour believing it would fight for working families, only to watch Starmer abandon those principles for what he thinks is electoral respectability. by allowing his membership to hemorrhage to Reform UK. Starmer has not only lost a crucial financial revenue stream but has lost the political soul of his party. Each departing member represents not just a lost subscription fee, but a lost volunteer, a lost local organizer, a lost voice in their community advocating for Labour values. When these people join Reform UK instead, they're not just changing their party allegiance, they're actively working to destroy the party they once called home. Farage, with his perfect political instincts, has identified this vacuum of political spirit and is now filling it with a surging army of anti-establishment activists. These aren't passive supporters responding to polls. These are motivated, energized people who believe Reform UK offers something Labour no longer can: authentic representation of their values and genuine commitment to change. The financial implications alone are staggering. At an average annual membership fee of £25, Labour has lost over £2.5 million in direct revenue from the membership exodus. But that is just the beginning. These departing members were also the party's most reliable small donors, volunteering their time for free, and serving as local ambassadors in their communities. The true value of what Labour has lost runs into the tens of millions when you calculate the volunteer hours, local knowledge, and grassroots infrastructure that has walked out the door. Meanwhile, Reform UK is experiencing the opposite phenomenon. Their 330% membership growth isn't just about numbers, it is about energy, enthusiasm, and commitment. New members are joining Reform because they believe in something, not because they're settling for the least worst option. This fundamental difference in motivation will translate directly into campaign effectiveness when the next general election comes. The geographic distribution of this membership shift tells an even more disturbing story for Labour. The biggest losses are coming from exactly the constituencies Labour needs to hold to remain a viable national party. Traditional working class areas, red wall constituencies that Labour won back from the Conservatives, and urban centres, where Labour should be consolidating support, are all seeing members defect to Reform UK. Take the West Lothian victory as a perfect example. This wasn't just a protest vote or a random electoral quirk. This was the direct result of Reform UK having built a superior ground operation in an area where Labour should have been dominant. They had more volunteers, more local knowledge, and more enthusiasm than Labour could muster in what should have been home territory. The psychological impact on remaining Labour members cannot be underestimated. When you see your party losing members every day, when you watch former allies join what you once considered the opposition, when you witness your party's influence shrinking rather than growing, it creates a spiral of demoralization that becomes self-fulfilling. Why volunteer for a losing cause? Why donate to a sinking ship? Why invest emotional energy in a project that seems destined for failure? Starmer's response to this crisis has been characteristically tone-deaf. Rather than addressing the underlying reasons why members are leaving, Labour leadership has focused on attacking Reform UK and dismissing the membership numbers as irrelevant. This defensive posture only confirms to departing members that they made the right decision. A leader who refuses to acknowledge the scale of the problem is a leader who cannot solve it. The comparison with Reform UK's approach is instructive. While Labour's leadership seems embarrassed by their grassroots supporters and eager to distance themselves from anything that might be seen as too left-wing or too populist, Farage celebrates Reform's growing membership as proof of democratic legitimacy. He is building a movement, while Starmer is managing decline. The timing of this membership exodus couldn't be worse for Labour. With local elections, potential by-elections, and eventually a general election on the horizon, Labour needs every activist it can get. Instead, they're hemorrhaging the very people who would normally be their electoral foot soldiers. These former Labour members aren't just sitting at home feeling disillusioned. They're actively working for Reform UK, using the campaign skills they learned in the Labour Party to defeat their former political home. The media coverage of these membership figures has been tellingly sparse, which suggests that the Westminster establishment recognizes how damaging this story is for the narrative of Labour's stability and Starmer's leadership. Political journalists who normally pore over every poll and every voting intention survey have been remarkably quiet about what may be the most significant political development of the year. This selective coverage bias only makes Farage's victory more significant. He is not just beating Labour in membership numbers, He is breaking through the media filter that normally protects established parties from inconvenient truths. When Reform UK announced their membership milestone, they forced the political conversation to acknowledge a reality that contradicts the Westminster consensus about who has momentum in British politics. The international implications of this development are equally significant. Political movements across Europe and beyond are watching what Farage has accomplished with intense interest. The ability to build a mass membership organization that can challenge and ultimately overtake established parties is exactly what populist movements in other countries are trying to achieve. Reform UK's success provides a roadmap for similar efforts elsewhere. But perhaps most importantly, this membership victory demonstrates that there is a genuine appetite for political change in Britain that extends far beyond the traditional left-right divide that has dominated political discourse for decades. The 269,000 people who have joined Reform UK aren't just expressing dissatisfaction with current politicians. They're demanding a fundamentally different approach to politics itself. These members are backing a party that promises to challenge the established order, to represent communities that feel ignored by Westminster, and to prioritize British interests over international consensus. Whether you agree with these positions or not, the mathematical reality is that more people are willing to pay money and volunteer time to support this vision than are willing to do the same for Starmer's version of Labour. The strategic implications for the next general election are profound. Labour may still lead in some national polls, but polling reflects opinions, while membership reflects commitment. When election day comes, the party with 269,000 committed activists will have an enormous advantage over the party that has lost 100,000 members and shows no sign of stopping the bleeding. This membership exodus represents more than just changing political fortunes. It is evidence of a fundamental realignment in British politics that makes Starmer's Labour Party a relic of a previous era, rather than the future of progressive politics. The 100,000 people who have left Labour didn't disappear. They found a political home that better represents their values and their vision for Britain's future. Farage has achieved something remarkable. He has built the largest political movement in the country from a standing start in just a few years. Meanwhile, Starmer has taken the largest political party in the country and driven it into numerical inferiority through his own strategic choices and political miscalculations. The final irony is that this membership crisis was entirely avoidable. Labour had every advantage: government power, media attention, financial resources, and an established nationwide organization. They squandered all of it by pursuing a political strategy that actively alienated their own supporters while failing to attract enough new ones to compensate for the losses. This is the one definitive proof that Starmer's Labour government is collapsing from the inside out, paving the way for Farage to achieve his ultimate goal: the total transformation of the British political landscape. The exodus isn't just changing the numbers, it is changing the future.